now entering the horror sanctum.
Hello, Sydney, and welcome back to the Horror Sanctum podcast. I am Jay with John, Kellen, and TJ. And this week we're going to be diving into the latest installment of one of our favorite horror franchises. And of course, I'm talking about Scream with the newest Scream 6, which it's hard to believe it just came out in March. We were seeing it in theaters. Here we are talking about it. Super fresh movie. So we're going to dive into that. But remember, as always, with this being a newer movie, we will have some spoilers.
So, this movie, I'm a big Scream fan, like we all are. I love Scream 1 through 3. I really liked Scream 5. Scream 4 I hated. I really wanted to love this movie. This is the second time I watched it today, and I can honestly say I really fucking hate this movie. So for me, the problem with it is, I'll start with the good stuff, right? Okay, it's shot very well. It's got a lot of the returning characters that you like Tara and Mindy. The killer reveal I'm fine with. I thought it was cool. I thought the kills were really cool. It's a pretty film. There are a couple of sequences in the movie that are suspenseful. Like the train sequence, I think that works pretty well. Other than that, you take those out of it, the movie itself is just a mess. There's a lot of characters that are doing very dumb things. There's dialogue that is just really stupid and over the top. The movie itself, it feels like a fan film. That's the way I would describe it. It's like everything they did with 5 that was so good. It was almost like with 6, they just were like, okay, we're going to pay homage to all the other Scream films, but we're going to make almost like a fan film, right? So we're going to make the dialogue even more meta and even more wink at the camera. I mean, even the opening scene, right? The girl is going on a date. She goes down a dark alley. Why is she going down a dark alley? Okay, well, she thinks the guy's in trouble. Her date, who turns out to be a fake ghost face. But then he goes back to his apartment, Ghostface attacks him, kills him, and the last thing he says before he dies is, "What about my movie?" Like, that is the dumbest thing, because there's no way that would ever, like, even in Scream 3, Cotton Weary didn't say something that dumb when he died. Like, every Scream movie, when they do that first scene, it's funny, it's quirky, there's some, charm to it, but it's never stupid. But there's so much in this movie that is just so dumb. Even the beginning with the therapist, Sam, the main character, is going to a therapist. And she's been going to this therapist for a long time. But if you notice, the therapist apparently doesn't know that she killed her boyfriend, even though that's why she's in therapy. Like, how would you not know that? Why would that not be a conversation? So there's just a lot of these type of things in the movie that I noticed more the second time. Even Gale Weathers, she's in this movie. Gale Weathers, in the first 3 movies, she has an arc, right? She starts off a bitch, she gets better, she falls in love with Dewey, she starts to get a bit of a heart, and by the time Scream 4 comes around, she's a fully formed character. And even in Scream 5, she goes back to being a reporter, but she's still a good person, right? She still tries to do the right thing with Sydney. In this movie, it's like she went right back to Scream 1. And I just don't understand what that logic was, why they did that.
She was awful. She
was
awful. And I think that because with Neve Campbell not coming back and Dewey being gone, I think they had their backs to the wall of trying to still be attached to that OG franchise. That's the only thing I can fathom, because part of my notes for this episode is Gale sucks in this movie, right along with fucking Kirby, who I adore. as a person, but she sucks. But I digress. Continue.
No, I agree. I mean, Gail, and even I laughed when her boyfriend dies because the killer was like, "Oh, I guess he didn't have what it took," and she's like, "I guess not," or something about his muscles, and I'm like, "Damn, like that's mean, even for like a random boyfriend, you know." So stuff like that really bothered me. Sam, if you just take the characters themselves, you have Sam and Tara, sisters, right? Jenna Ortega is a way better actress than the actress Melissa Barrera, who plays Sam. And I understand the dynamic of the movie has it such to where she's older, Tara's younger. It just kind of worked out that way, right? It's just hard when you're acting beside someone who's so much better. Because there's so many actors in this movie who are better. Even in the beginning, the first girl who gets killed, I think her name is Samara Weaving.
Hugo's
great
or something.
From Ready or Not. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a great actress. Like, I know she's too old to be in this situation, but she would have done a way better role in this type of movie, right? And that's a hard thing to carry a movie when your lead character isn't that interesting. And I know that Sam is the new Sydney, but the thing is Sydney, I mean, Nev Campbell, there was something about her in those movies that you just believe she was an ass kicker. Like at the end of the movie, you were like, she's going to fucking get this done. She just had that about her that you believed. And with Sam, I just don't, there's something about her that's just missing still with me. And I know that is what it is, unfortunately. The boyfriend, that guy was ridiculous. Like, he was literally like when he first started talking, all I could think was he's like Jesse from Breaking Bad. I just thought Aaron, what's his name? Aaron Paul. Like that's all I could think of the way he talked, right? Like, yo, bitch. Like that was like all I was thinking of the whole time. Like I said, I didn't mind the family reveal. I thought that was cool to tie it back to Richie when the original. I didn't mind that. I didn't mind the family acting over the top and crazy. Dermot Mulroney acting kind of over the top. I didn't mind that. I didn't mind, even the whole gag of, Chad and Mindy, both movies now almost dying, but then not dying. That's kind of a funny homage to Dewey. So I don't mind that. That's kind of funny, right? They're just basically saying like, hey, these are the characters that are going to almost die, but they're not going to die, right?
Well, they called it the core four, which basically says
Yeah.
you got to keep the core four alive.
Right, exactly. And that makes sense. I mean, they're not going to kill them. But yeah, overall, I just think that there was just a lot of things that just didn't work with the characters and the way the film played out. And I think the biggest thing for me too, aside from what I've said so far, is the setting. Something about New York City in this setting doesn't work for me. I think that, most slasher movies, you're isolated, Woodsbury, Crystal Lake, Haddonfield, you're somewhere where you're isolated. I think the problem is in New York, the suspense level kind of goes down a bit because it's so busy. There's just something about it that becomes less scary. I could see why they thought it would be fun to do it. But I really do hope with Scream 7, if they make one, that they're going to take it back to Woodsboro. So, yeah, I mean, overall, I just think, there were parts of it I liked, but I just thought it was over the top. And it was just overall a disappointment, So, yeah. That's it. I'll stop ranting.
They confirmed 7 this week, and it's the guy who directed the Happy Death Day movies is going to be directing it.
Which I love those movies to death, so I'm very excited for that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so John and I often have very similar opinions. Today is not that day.
Bum, bum, bum.
Because even though I agree with a lot of the things that John says, I watched this movie in the theater 3 times. I literally don't think there's another movie ever in my life. Then just kind of worked out that way that I've watched in the theater 3 times. And I watched it on Paramount Plus 1 time. So I've seen this movie 4 times since March. I think I saw it 3 times in March, which is it's maybe 1 time too many to watch that movie in the theater in March, but I digress. yes, this movie is a mess of a movie, but it's a beautiful mess. And I like it because for a lot of the reasons that John hates it. Honestly, the New York setting, yes, I see what you're saying with the it's hard to have the isolated small town feel, but I think what they were going for, granted it's not executed perfectly, I think it's most executed the most perfectly in the subway scene, and there should have been more scenes that were executed that well, is the idea that even in a town of millions of people, you can still be isolated because nobody gives a shit and nobody's paying attention to you, and it you may as well be in a small town with nobody around. I think that was kind of the point. They didn't have enough set pieces and scenes to kind of tie that together perfectly like I would have liked, but I think that's kind of what they were going for. I liked the change of the setting, because how many times can you have the people dressed up like the same character with the same weapons going around the same town,
Right.
killing a bunch of young people again? It needed a refresh, and I think proving the concept. This movie, if nothing else, if imperfectly, proves the concept that you could still take the same core concept and basically put it in any kind of situation you want to. Kind of like Jason X in space. It's like, okay, you got Jason, he's killing people. What more you need? Just trap him in a space. And I think the Scream universe is now, with this film, given a little more leeway. And they hinted at that in Scream 3. Half of it takes place in Hollywood, right? So it wasn't all in Woodsboro. I think this film suffers from a couple of things. One being it was greenlit like almost instantly when the first movie that came out the previous January becomes such a massive hit. I don't think they had like a trilogy or anything necessarily in place until that performed so well, because that was kind of like a reboot requel. It was the same thing they did with the Halloween 2018. It was like, if this does well, we kind of have this in the queue as ideas, but wait and see. But when that movie did, I think, of close to or over $100 million domestic, it's like, okay, we're definitely you're definitely greenlit, and you guys go do it. And it's really hard to put together a movie from scratch when you already probably invested a lot of time and energy into one really pretty good movie, to say, okay, pick up exactly where you left off, and you got like 6 months to go into production, and it's got to be released a year from now. They did that with Scream and Scream 2 and had surprisingly good results, but I don't know. The gods of the movie universes were smiling on that. They had a lot of people in their prime in that kind of period where the slasher genre was just, it had a new frenetic energy going on, because they just created the revolution with the Scream movie. Totally brought back the slasher franchise for the first time in 6-7 years, really having good ones. And then they were still basically going off the momentum of that film. The problem with trying to do that in 2022, 2023 is everything's so diluted now. The requel, the 2022 film, was good, but it didn't like totally start a whole new revolution in the genre or anything. If anything, Halloween 2018 did that 4 years previously. And I know this film was supposed to come out earlier, but COVID and all the stuff, it was one of the films that was affected by release dates with COVID. So that might have took a little bit of the shine off of it a little bit. It would have been great if they had have already pre-planned a trilogy, because then that same directing team would have had like 3 years to work on the sequel, and it probably would have been a lot better, because you can kind of see the holes in it. The characters that aren't the core four are pretty thin, and they're basically exist to be murdered or to do the murdering. And the reveal I was kind of cool with. It took me really to the second rewatch to really appreciate that more, because I thought it was a little cheap. I just don't believe, honestly, that a police officer would have that kind of access. There's so much logic holes in this film, probably more than any of the Scream films. Is probably my biggest point against it, that he'd be able to, in the New York City 2023 market, be able to buy a theater, like an abandoned classical theater that's probably like a historical landmark and would be like millions of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars in rent every month on a cop's salary, to be able to just keep that as their lair, and convince his other two kids to go on this murder spree because they love their dead son, who was a crazy psycho killer so much. I mean, I give it a pass on all that, because the reveals have been more and more ridiculous with every Scream film, and this is by far the most ridiculous of all the killer reveals. I guess they're just going to keep adding killers to it and have them all related. So the next one is going to be like a traveling circus of people. It's going to be like a clown car of Ghostface killers coming out. I don't know, but I'm here for it.
I'd watch that.
I'd watch it too.
Just a
Combine
bunch of ghost faces.
Combine it with Scream. There you go. That's
it's going to be
7.
like a throwback to 3, where it'll be like Sam's sibling or something that was Billy's other kid.
It's going to be the babysitter's third cousin twice removed. I mean, the more silly it gets, like scary movie-ish, the better for me at this point. 6 sequels in, I'm here for it. It's not going to make a lot of sense. There were a couple good scenes, though, that stand out to me. There's the train scene, and as stupid as it was, and as long as they took to do it, I liked the ladder scene. The ladder scene was fun. It didn't make any sense at all that the person who was hurt the most would be the last. Wouldn't they be the first to go over the ladder? Like, get them across. They're already injured. That made no sense, but that kept with the lack of logic of any of the decision making for the characters in the film. But overall, I liked it. There's some good kills, couple good set pieces, ridiculous kind of plot reveal. You keep your same core characters alive for another sequel, which has just been greenlit. I'll be there. I'll watch it in the theater. Maybe not 3 times in the theater, but I'll watch it in the theater.
Finally, that's over. Anyway, John's correct. This movie was hot garbage, straight trash, straight to DVD, dumpster via dumpster. Because this movie was so. It's the first time that I've watched a movie that started great. Like I thought that the first 10 minutes were fantastic. The whole Scream franchise is about being meta to the horror genre. So obviously they're going to be extra meta the more it goes on. So you have the ghost face for this one isn't the actual ghost face. He's doing the movie thing again, which they've done in other Scream movies, and then him and his friend get murdered by the actual ghost face, or one of the ghost face. So high expectations, and then it just progressively gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until I wanted to gouge my eyes out. and part of that was because the ending is so dumb. The acting was Hayden Panettiere is adorable, but she is past her prime as far as being able to act. It's like she took so much time off she forgot how to pretend. and she has like a southern accent kind of in this movie, but in the other Scream movies she didn't. So just continuity, they just said and I think what's happening is and as somebody who just recently watched all the Scream movies, congratulations to me for being so late.
Yeah, just take a second. Hang on, everybody take a second.
Yeah. That's the big feat. That's the big feat. By the way, since you mentioned the southern accent, where is Woodsboro? Do they ever say?
It's probably just like
Middle America.
I always assumed Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, like those 3. I don't know why that was what.
Yeah, I think it's just meant to be a stereotypical.
It's like Haddonfield. You don't really know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think with talking about them going meta, each Scream movie has the theme of related to horror at that point in time. It's like they're trying to encapsulate the essence of whatever horror is doing at that time, while also poking a little fun at it. But my fear is they're going the same route that the last two Halloweens went. And I don't want horror to go this way because it's so absurd, and I don't like that direction. But it's almost like we're going into the rampage horror genre. We went from slasher flicks to the whole reality-based horror genre, where it was like reality, making fun of reality TV, and then we got to torture porn, and it feels like we're going to rampage porn and or horror, and that's where the killer just goes on a rampage, like in the bodega scene where he just starts just murdering everybody in his path, and that takes away some of the suspense of the whole genre. And it's what the first Scream movie did so well. It's what the first Halloween movie did so well, is building the terror.
Mm-hmm.
The kills come, and they're coming, but they pull you in slowly, and then all of a sudden, bam!
Right.
There's the kill. Now it's just like, okay, well, he's going to run. We're in New York. You mean to tell me that at no point in time would anybody run in and stop? It's not like and the whole thing with Scream is these are real people. You can get away with it with a little bit with Halloween, a lot with Jason, a lot with Freddy Krueger. They're supernatural. They're gonna have abilities that other people don't have. Every Scream movie is just a normal person that's going on a killing spree, but somehow it doesn't matter what you throw at them until the mask comes off. They are unkillable. And so you've got three Ghostface in this one ultimately, and nothing can stop them until the end. And then that whole scene in that theater, like what TJ said, how did he buy that? And then how did he have the money to buy all the memorabilia and put it in cases? He built a shrine that by today's standards would be 10-20 million dollars worth of memorabilia and stuff on a cop's salary, which, if you've watched the most recent season of Only Murders in the or season 2, he mentions that as a detective he makes $80,000 a year. Did he buy $80,000 worth of lottery tickets and just happened to hit?
Yeah. Which in New York is not a lot. You can barely afford rent.
Exactly. So there's just the movie, like I said, it started super strong. It picked up. 5 was fantastic. It was a great, revisit to the franchise, a rebirth, so to speak. It picked up steam right where you would want it to after a downturn in the franchise. It kind of revitalized you for it. So you go into 6 with higher than needed expectations. It starts off really good. It's like, okay, we're in for it. And then it just slowly goes downhill. And did I miss something where Hayden Panettiere was alive at the end of 4? Because did they just kill her off screen? Like, they kill her.
It's just
show her die, and then in 6, she's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm now an FBI agent. I didn't actually die."
They just didn't kill her quite as hard as some of the other ones. So there's a little hope.
They lightly stabbed her several times in the stomach
because he liked her, right? The guy liked her, so he surface stabbed her. Yeah.
Well, he was a stabbing virgin, so maybe he just got the tip in.
So that was literal fan service too, because she was. I think Wes Craven wrote her to die, and the fans kept asking about her, and they just brought her back simply for that. And like you were saying, that's why she's so weird. Even her acting is odd. Like, it's like she's confused. It's just, yeah.
And I get what they were trying to do, because they do it in every one. They try to direct you to the killer. They try to point you in the direction of the killer as a misdirection for who the real killer is, which in most of the films they do a really good job, because they get people that have either been known to be bigger names, so you're expecting that person to be the killer, or they get people who have been in other horror films, so you expect them to be that's going to be the person that's out, and then it's not. So they do a good job of trying to surprise you. So I get them trying to bring her back, like she's going to. I mean, they point like it's her. It's going to be her. It's obviously not going to be her. They did too much to try to lead you along that path. at certain times that, oh, it's going to be Hayden Panettiere. That's why we brought her back. You're welcome. And then it wasn't. It was three stupid idiots that should have died immediately. Instead, they get a 15-minute monologue that made me want to gouge my ears with a pencil. So I get what TJ's saying, but I could not get into this one. It did not hit a single right note for me as a horror film. It just felt like they were trying to do more than they should have. They were trying to be overly meta. They were trying to be overly grand in all of the murders. They were trying to be overly gore. It just, everything felt like they were just trying to, push way too much on you. So it was awful. Jenna Ortega was delightful. I didn't mind the other sister as well. I think she did a decent enough job. I didn't like the whole, she's got Billy Loomis in her. I didn't like that. I don't like when they're like, oh, it's a character flaw. She's got the psychosis that's going to make her want to murder people. I never get behind that, especially if they didn't, like, if she grew up with him, I could see maybe some trauma bleeding over, but so
the question remains, Scream 6 or Ends?
Oh, Scream 6 I would watch Scream 6 again now, just because some of the deaths, but yeah, like Ends I will not ever watch again unless forced to. Unless we do some live event where you're all like, hey, we're gonna watch Halloween Ends for a live event, and then I'm gonna just take several shots of whatever's available.
Halloween Ends for Kellen is Terrifier 2 for me.
It seems that way. So
go.
This did not go the direction I thought it was going to be going. I'm going to be honest with you guys, John. I'm a little disappointed in you, to be honest. But
I'm so proud of you, John, for voicing your honest opinion.
Well, I liked it first time. Second time, it just, I don't know.
And I get that too, because the same thing happened to me. Now, Kellen, you said there were like no good horror elements. Here's the good things of that movie. One, you can't put Jenna Ortega in anything, and I won't watch it. She's perfect. She's an angel.
Is adorable.
The train scene is one of the best scenes I've seen in a horror movie, in my opinion. I absolutely loved every second of it. And not only did I love the action that was taking place, but all the costumes. That was like the funnest part, watching again, like pausing, like, okay, I see that. I see the Babadook. You see all these things. I absolutely love that. And even earlier in the beginning of the film, when they go to the party, one of the guys at the party, I think he might have been one of the killers, the son. He was wearing the costume the guy made for the movie Murder
Party. Yeah.
And if you've never seen Murder Party, we will do an episode on Murder Party, because it is such a fantastic indie movie that you can find sometimes at Dollar Tree. So always check it out. But he was wearing that cardboard costume that the guy made from Murder Party. And that hooked me in right from the bat too, especially Samara Weaving, who's also a fantastic actress in everything she's been in. On the train, someone was dressed up as her character from Ready or Not, in the wedding dress with the shotgun strap and all that. That stuff they did wonderfully.
Which they're fans. I mean, the Radio Silence guys are indie horror guys.
Yeah, and that's what I like about horror movies too. Newer ones where that stuff kind of bleeds in, you can kind of tell. But Gail Weathers should have died already.
Yes,
like John said, her character arc in the first three.
Dewey should have lived, and they should have got rid of Gail.
Yeah,
like, why bring her back? And again, we know why they brought her back, because one, she probably had a contract, but two, they're still holding on to the past.
And she'd take less money than Nev Campbell. That's the real reason they brought her.
She has to. Nev Campbell is on the Twisted Metal show that Kellen and I finished today. She's still getting paid pretty well, but she was just awful. And Kirby was awful. And I love Hayden. Like, I've always been a fan of her, like Heroes, but she has forgotten how to act. And she probably forgot how to fake a Southern accent, which is why Kellen caught that part where she was Southern in one and not in the other. But she is not a good actress. And it happens. You can lose it. I truly believe that. We've seen examples in our lifetime of actors who have come back, and it's just not quite the same. And I haven't seen, 4 is probably the one I've seen the least of all of the Scream films. So I don't remember all of it. I remember Culkin. I don't remember if her character died or not at the end. I don't remember that at all. But
who's that? Hayden Panettiere?
Yeah.
Yeah, she gets stabbed twice in the stomach, and then she's just, and they never show her.
They leave her. They don't show the moment of death, but you definitely assume she dies.
Yeah, and I think
Was a
when
safe
that
assumption.
happened, when we were in the theater and that happened, I'm sure I was like, like that was fun. But then she started talking. I'm like, I'm out. I'm out. Um, another thing I don't care for is when, and it happens a lot, but when the killers are people we've never met before at all. I like there to be some connection. But I understand you can't always do that. I wish Samara Weaving was in it more. She could have taken anybody's place in that movie, and it would have been better on acting, for sure. But one thing that pissed me off was something that didn't happen in the movie, and the only reason it pissed me off is because of the internet. So I tried desperately to not get any spoilers for this movie, and whenever I even got a whiff of something, I moved on, changed the page, turned it off. But I Googled something, and I wasn't Googling Scream, but Scream came up. And the first thing that I saw, and then saw several other times, was Matthew Lillard's name and pictures of Matthew Lillard. And there's been this conspiracy that he's still alive. He was in 2 at the university. He was in the background playing Frisbee or some shit. I got that spoiled for me, and it didn't happen. And then I got pissed that it didn't happen, because if anybody's collecting that memorabilia, why would it not be one of the OG killers? I think they dropped the ball there. I really wish they had gone in that direction. Would it have been a little cheesy? Yeah, but we would have liked it a whole lot more than this cop and his 2 kids who were related to the character who we just met in the last movie, and now his family's in on it. Like, that was just too much transition. One family just all of a sudden getting all murdery. I wish that, just like some of the other movies we've talked about, I just wish some of those characters had been introduced to us before. That would have helped me a lot. And the new core 4, some of them got to go.
Which there is a fan theory too. If they brought Matthew Lillard back, that I really like, that Lillard's character and the boyfriend that dies and is Billy Loomis is coming back, and the Sam's visions or whatnot, that they were actually a gay couple together, which harkens back to the Hitchcock movie Rope, where it's 2 guys that's based on a real story, and it was a gay couple that was a closeted couple that ended up killing one of their friends. And I think you could do, and that would make a lot more sense why he would be going and trying to get all the stuff from Billy and all that stuff. I think you could do a lot there with that.
Yeah, even before the movie came out, like long before, there were always rumors, and the one you always saw the most was like the cult of Ghostface. So where it's like all these people have taken up his helm. I wouldn't have liked that either, but I would like to have seen Matthew Lillard back. That would have been fun. So let's go around and give our best kills, our favorite kills. Kellen, you cannot say the end of the film when they start the credits. We will not allow that this episode. So let's start with John.
A lot of good kills in this movie. I will give it that much credit. A lot of good stabbing in the face kills. The dad at the end, Dermot Mulroney, he got stabbed in the eye. That was a good kill. The psychiatrist, I would say the one that hit me the first initially that was like, ugh, was the psychiatrist when he gets stabbed in the nose through the door. So I'm going to go with that one. His favorite.
TJ?
That was honestly exactly what I was going to say, because that made me cringe, and I wasn't expecting it when it happened, was the psychiatrist.
Kellen?
Yeah, and just real quick, there's moments in this movie that are fun, that are good. Just the movie on the whole, just bleh. But I did like, the beginning. I liked when Jason gets killed. I like that, they went super meta with that he's going to be the ghost face, but he's not, because they've already shown his face. So I just thought it was super cool that the guy that wants to be Ghostface gets killed by one of the Ghostface in this movie.
I like the shotgun kill. That really wasn't that major of a kill, but it was something different, because he's always got a knife. He's always got something of that nature. He's never had maybe a pistol. He's never had a shotgun. So even in the trailers, like the teaser trailers, you just see him holding that shotgun. You're like, oh, fuck yeah. Unfortunately, for some of us, it didn't go that direction. So that would be mine. All right, let's go rankings. And then I think let's go 5-star ranking on this flick. And then after that, we're going to do our ranking of the franchise, and then we'll close out. So John, out of 5, what you got?
I wanted to be nice about it, but I just can't.
Did you?
2 out of 5.
2.
Oh,
I hate doing it.
wow.
But 2 out of 5. Yeah,
Wow.
that's all I'm
TJ.
giving it.
I see the flaws, but I still like it. I'm probably gonna watch it tonight because I just got the Blu-ray in the mail. I'm gonna give it a solid 3 out of 5.
All right, Kellen.
You know what? I'm just call me agree with John tonight. I'm going to give it a 2. I mean, it has its moments, but as a complete film, it just missed the mark way too many times.
I love the franchise. I'm a completionist. Is this one you got, TJ? The Nice Pretty Steel book? Where he's on
No,
the train?
because I'm dumb and I don't have room to put stuff on shelves, so I'm just gonna get rid of the case like a heathen and put it in a binder.
Oh, heathen. All right.
Ugh.
So
Ugh.
the cover alone is why I gave this a 3, because the train scene. Like I said, I absolutely adored that entire sequence. I love the costumes, the thought that went behind it. So that led me to give it a 3, which is going to average us out at 2.5. I think that's probably the general consensus as it is. So let's go around real quick and give our rankings of the franchise. Kellen, since you literally just completed the franchise for the first time, we'll let you go first.
Yeah, I think everybody's probably going to be the same first movie. I think I'm going to be a lot different than everybody else for the other ones. I'm going to go 1, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6.
Okay. John?
For me, it's going to be 2, 1, 3, 5, 4, 6.
All right. TJ?
For me, it's 1, 2, 5, and 3 and 6 are almost interchangeable, but I've thought a lot about it, and I think it's 3, 6, 4.
Okay. I haven't seen 4 in a long time, so I'm not going to be fair by that. But 1, 2, 3, 1 through 3, the original trilogy. That's the order for me. I have a soft spot for 3. You guys know why. I did have 6 originally next, but I'm going to go 1, 3, 5, and then I'm going to go 6, 4, just because the train scene. What I remember from 4, the train scene alone was better than that entire flick to me. So. All right, that's going to be our rankings from the Screen franchises. I know you were dying to hear those. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to wherever you're listening to this podcast. Follow us on Instagram. Come join the church over on Facebook. We have a good time. Next week, we're going to be talking 1983's Angel with local film producer Travis Ayers. So be sure to tune in for that one as well. Not quite horror, but Joe Bub did an episode on it. It's fair game. So. All right, signing off, I'm Jay with John, Kellen, and TJ. And until next time,
Keep it spooky, yo.